Oui, oui. Good afternoon. We are about to start our second panel, Plan for Today, Immediate Response to the Current Threats and Challenges in the Wider Black Sea Region. Please take your seats. We are about to start in 1 minute. Thank you.
I'm the so-called shaper. I will do my best. I have only 2 or 3 minutes speech because it's such a... Hi, Theo, we met already.
Jazz format with musicians come out.
Okay, yeah. My God. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I think we are in a good shape to start our second panel discussion. And after the excellent analysis of the situation which was provided by the previous panels, this time we would like to focus on some immediate responses to the current threats, which would include safety of navigation, demining, our defense capacities, and many other issues. But I would like to start this panel with a video intro. My name is Andriy Shevchenko. I am Ukrainian Deputy Minister of Defense, and for the next couple of hours you will have to bear with me as your moderator. And to kick off this conversation, I will invite Iulian Fota, State Secretary from Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Romania, to set up the floor.
Thank you very much, Andriy. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to point out some of the highlights, and taking consideration that we have in the panel, panelists with huge experience either on defense but also international relations. I want to say from the beginning that my presentation will be quite a short one. So, distinguished panelists, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, although the Black Sea has unique geopolitical characteristics with 9 armed conflicts in the area in the last 30 years, including one of global importance, of course, I have in my mind the less aggression of Russia against Ukraine. For too many years, it was considered a marginal area of Western interest. Today, under the pressure of recent regional developments, on the background of eastward shift of Europe's center of gravity, the Black Sea must enjoy a new geopolitical centrality. Just like the Eastern Mediterranean or the Gulf area, the Black Sea is a sea of strategic importance for the West. And I'm not just thinking of the war zone, which is the result of the 2 Russian aggressions against Ukraine. Black Sea is also an important space as a space of, is important also as a space of transcontinental connectivity. The connections of the South Caucasus and Central Asia with Europe also pass through the Black Sea. In 2022, just to give you some figures, compared to 2021, the transport of goods from Central Asia to Europe increased 6 times. In my opinion, not only the countries of South Caucasus, but also the ones in Central Asia already represents European neighborhood. Romania is satisfied with that. After years of effort, this new significance of the Black Sea is already recognized by NATO, being included in the new strategic concept, and I express here my hope that also EU will retain this new aspect. The new geopolitical center of gravity in Europe is in the Black Sea. So, when we talk about Black Sea, we have 2 levels for addressing the relevant topics. First, we deal with the war initiated by Russia against Ukraine, which furthermore complicated the security of the Black Sea region, at the same time raising awareness of its importance for the European and Euro-Atlantic security. Second, we have the complex issues already dominating the security landscape, such as the protracted conflicts, Russia pressure on the countries in the region, the illegal annexation of Crimea in 2014, which created a Russian natural aircraft carrier in the Black Sea with serious impact also on the freedom of navigation. The common denominator is without a doubt Russia, and our response should be tailored, efficient, and well calibrated. NATO's new strategic concept acknowledges the strategic importance of the Black Sea region. At the same time, at the high level, we are trying to develop a common approach for the region in order to mitigate the limitations imposed by Russia. We should always keep in mind that we cannot discuss about the security of the Black Sea region without discussing the security of Ukraine and Republic of Moldova together. Both countries on their way to European Union membership should feel secure. Last but not least, there is no better way to end my preliminary remarks than quoting Senator Jen Shaheen. You know very well that she had an important contribution on promoting and addressing Black Sea issues at the level of US Congress. Recently, Senator Shaheen said that and now I'm quoting her, allowing Russia to define the rules of the Black Sea puts our allies and interests at risk, and it deserves its own comprehensive strategy to ensure that Russian President Vladimir Putin cannot gain a foothold here. Let's build upon these approaches during your debates and in this panel, and let's try together to identify the possible outcomes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think we feel the complexity of the situation described by you and the gravity of the decisions to be made. And what are the priorities and what are the key decisions that we have to consider right now? I'll address this question to our panelists, and I'll start with His Excellency Nikolai Milko, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Bulgaria.
Thank you, Minister. Distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies. First of all, I would start by thanking to our Romanian host and Ukrainian co-organizers for this event. that is very topical at present, and also to thank the Romanian host for the wonderful hospitality. Ladies and gentlemen, the Black Sea region has become a central fault line in the strategic competition between Russia and the West. It is also a crossroad for the security lines going to South Caucasus, Eastern Mediterranean, Middle East, and the Western Balkans as well, and an important transit node between Europe and Asia. The Russian war against Ukraine has created a fundamentally new security environment. It has shattered peace in Europe and has directly attacked the rule-based international order. This is an aggression not only against Ukraine, but also against peace and stability on our continent. I think that in parallel to the strategic environment, the Russian aggression changed the paradigm of thinking on our continent. In my view, if a couple of years ago, an average European citizen have been asked about whether he is in favor of Europe to become a global strategic superpower, including in military field, probably the answer would have been yes. But if the very same citizen would have been asked about he is in favor or not in a massive defense spending, an increase in the military costs of the budget, so probably the answer would have been no. Now I think that the answer of both this question would have been yes, if asked. So this kind of new thinking deriving from the developments in Ukraine is a very critical difference that could be made. And from that point of view, I would like to congratulate also the organizers and to praise the Crimea platform for providing the opportunity of true dialogue, of exchange, a very productive exchange of ideas, but also for streamlining policies, for shaping strategic decisions for the future, but first and foremost for supporting Ukraine in its strive against the aggressor. I would like to ensure our Ukrainian friends that this assistance on our side will last as long as it takes until they decide it. Ladies and gentlemen, the growing challenges require a comprehensive strategy towards the Black Sea region, which we see as a key for ensuring deterrence and prevention of conflicts in NATO southern flank. The regional formats cannot substitute the NATO capabilities for deterrence and defense. What we need now is a concerted, collective approach, because the unity is our strongest asset, as it was already mentioned by previous speakers. Reassessing NATO approach and policy to the Black Sea is needed at strategic level. It is imperative that NATO force posture, infrastructure and capabilities on the eastern flank and in the Black Sea region adequately reflect the threats and the challenges. We expect the forthcoming NATO Vilnius summit to be a decisive step ahead in this direction. In the light of Madrid decisions, the long overdue decision to transfer the regional maritime coordination function for the Black Sea into a permanent regional maritime coordination presence as a NATO force structure element is now more pressing than ever. So I began with some specific suggestion about what we have to do in the very next months to come. The enhanced vigilance activity, the so-called EVEA battalion battle groups on our territories are already full operational, and I'm proud to say that Bulgaria was the first country to fully move to the readiness of the battalion battle group on our soil. And also we are, of course, in favor for scaling up the battalion battle groups to brigade level in the future. Probably that should be a decision of the Vilnius summit in July this year. The war in Ukraine has also far-reaching and unpredictable implications for protracted conflicts in neighboring regions where Russia always plays a role, namely in the South Caucasus and Transnistria, where its proxies have been instrumental in sustaining these conflicts. The prolongation of the war in Ukraine brings an increased risk of Russia activating any of the protracted conflicts to divert the focus of the West from Ukraine. And also increasing the military mobility in Southeastern Europe is crucial for guaranteeing the capabilities of allies not only to respond but to deter any potential threat. We must work for developing the road and railroad connections among countries in our region. The war is the proof that it is about the war in Ukraine, I mean, is proving that it is almost all about logistics. This is a very important element of the present war. So on the north-south axis, Bulgaria is working with our partners Greece and Romania for building up and for modernizing the existing infrastructure. And here in Bucharest, exactly, I would like to call out for a faster building of the third bridge over the Danube River, another project that we, the three NATO countries from the region, the NATO allies from the region, must accelerate. This is the so-called sea-to-sea road and railroad complex of connections linking the Aegean Sea in Greece to Romanian Black Sea coast. Against all obstacles to navigation and the rise of easy disruption of maritime communication lines, I would like to bring to your attention one more important project. This is the oil pipeline between the Bulgarian Black Sea city of Burgas and the Aegean harbor of Alexandroupolis. It will allow the imports of crude oil from all over the world to the refinery in Burgas in Bulgaria. This refinery is important for the whole region because it is the biggest in Southeastern Europe, and it provides processed oil to many countries from our region. It is important to note also that 40% of the production of this refinery goes now to Ukraine. Ladies and gentlemen, I really do hope that exchanges of such kind will bring us closely to the collective approaches that we need and for being more efficient in our efforts to help Ukraine and to deter the Russian aggressive policy. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Minister. And in the spirit of very specific suggestions, as you just did, I would like to turn to Mr. Altai Efendiev, Secretary General of Organization for Democracy and Economic Development, GUAM. And my question to you would be, how do you see how we should address these major security threats and the destructions to economic activities across the region?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good afternoon, all honorable ministers, distinguished panelists, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation and to thank and congratulate Romanian authorities for hosting this event and extended kind attention and hospitality to my delegation. And I wish fruitful deliberation to the participants and valuable outcomes to the conference. Congratulate Crimea platform with this new dimension of the initiative, and I believe it's a very useful beginning to think about the future and how to deal with the challenges of the present. On my part, as you referred, I will try to present the perspective of Organization of Democracy and Economic Development GUAM on the subject. as a regional stakeholder comprising 4 states, friendly nations and strategic partners, namely Georgia, Ukraine, Azerbaijan and Moldova. Here on the map, I will come to map later in my concluding remarks, but in the meantime you can entertain in studying and visualizing some points that have been mentioned by distinguished previous panelists on the strategic importance of the region and communication network. As you all know, Guam geography is the most congested with protracted conflicts hampering not only national development but posing severe threats to regional and international peace, security and stability. The territorial integrity and sovereignty of Guam member states have been violated in flagrant infringement of international law and existing order of peaceful coexistence of nations. Numerous decisions of the leading international organizations, including the resolutions of the United Nations Security Council in support of the territorial integrity of Guam member states, remained ignored and unimplemented. Decades-long mediation efforts of the international community in resolving conflicts have failed. Moreover, we have witnessed further escalations across the region, culminating in the unjustified, unprovoked, brutal aggression of the Russian Federation against Ukraine, a United Nations Security Council permanent member, currently presiding over this supreme body, supposedly to be aimed at maintaining peace and stability across the globe. We've heard in the morning the word impunity, and impunity and keeping a blind eye and policies of appeasement toward the conflict in Guam region have these unfortunately consequences that we have to deal with now. When the international system does not function, nations opt to defend themselves. One such example is Azerbaijan. Fruitless and endless mediation efforts, as well as numerous provocations, put the fate of the returning of the territories at risk, and Azerbaijan, utilizing the right provided by the Article 51 of the United Nations Charter, has liberated illegally occupied territories by military means. Now, on the table, a peace offer of a peace settlement. We acknowledged some efforts of international community in encouraging parties to find a final solution to that, but at the same time, we're also witnessing that not all regional and global actors are very happy with the progress on the ground. And we have seen rising tensions in the region with dangerous provocations from different parts of the world, with potential of escalating into another regional conflict, as Minister Milo was mentioned also. So here we also see this reminiscence of old policies when big countries prevail over a smaller one, and smaller should do whatever they have to do. Here I want to stress that the practice of this Ukraine, the war in Ukraine is another such an example. And experience in the South Caucasus should be also taken into consideration when dealing on the post-war settlement. The practice of subjugating smaller states to the will of the bigger should be stopped once and for all. The only criteria for conflict resolution, for just and lasting peace, should be the norms and principles of international law and the principles of equality of all nations, big and small. Unfortunately, the existing international system cannot guarantee it. The world is in disarray. with the prospects of sliding into more chaos if it continues this way. And it is only a coalition of willing, firm and growing that can stop and reverse this dangerous trend. And countries united around the Crimean platform and Ramstein as a good example in that sense. Another example of such coalitions could be the regional groupings based on shared vision, a common interest and goals. Such coalitions can become pillars of regional stability and future security and cooperation architecture. Guam, as an interstate framework, a full-fledged international organization, can be such a pillar of security and stability in the region of ever-growing geopolitical significance. The region has enormous trade and transit potential, providing access to new alternative sources of energy, new markets, and important and vital alternative outlet for the landlocked countries of Central Asia. To unlock the potential of the region, we are proposing and promoting our flagship initiative of Guam. Where is the map? Guam Transport Corridor. Guam geography is one of the areas where the interests of global and regional players intersect. And we believe that in safe, secure, stable functioning of corridor, so we can refer to it as a middle corridor or whatever, is a part of a wider, broad architecture of connectivity connecting East and West. But the crucial one, in particular, if we take into account that other land routes are currently being blocked or not functioning. So a lot of burden is now laid on our region and our countries to deal with increasing traffic. So this can be, I think, in secure and stable functioning of this corridor will be interested the wider international community. And we believe that integrated infrastructure should be an essential part of a new international connectivity and security architecture. The work on its implementation should start now. Developing Guam transport corridor in current circumstances demands even more urgency, as I mentioned. And this is our plan for today, if we refer to the title of the panel. As a step in that direction, we applied to the European Union through the joint letter of the Ministers of Foreign Affairs of Guam member state to assist us in its realization. And at the end of this month, we're expecting first consultation on the subject in Brussels under Guam, Ukraine Guam chairmanship this year. And using this occasion, I would like to appeal to European representatives of the European Union member states support and assist us in the process. Implementation of this initiative can serve as an element of future configuration, ensuring regional security in the wider Black Sea and the Caspian region, which is the title and theme for the next panel. Thank you for kind attention, and Slava Ukraini.
Thank you very much. And now let's turn to Germany, the country which from day one has placed itself in a leadership position in many multilateral efforts. And also the country which is today represented here by Mr. Tobias Lindner, Minister of State, Federal Foreign Office.
Thank you so much, Andrei. Excellencies, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me say how grateful I am to be present today at this conference and in particular in this panel. Our steadfast commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty, political independence, unity, and territorial integrity is also reflected in our fundamental support for the Crimea platform. And indeed, ladies and gentlemen, it is important not to lose sight of Crimea. Crimea is a part of Ukraine. The international community has never and will not recognize the annexation of 2014 in violation of international law. We will continue to voice this loudly and clearly. Today it's an excellent opportunity to focus on the important topic of the security here in the Black and the Azov Sea region. Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine directly impacts the Black Sea. Russia uses its Black Sea fleet as well as its military bases in illegally occupied Crimea for missile attacks on Ukraine. Countries along the Black Sea and maritime traffic are threatened by free-floating mines. Russia is blocking vessels with Ukrainian grain, and its effects on the supply chain and international food prices has further shown the global importance of the Black Sea region. The Black Sea region is important for all those countries who are aligned to it, but it's also important for the whole international community, ladies and gentlemen. And the repercussions, they are felt not only by Ukraine, but by all littoral states. Risk and damage for commercial shipping, infrastructure projects, and business fields like tourism are immense. And they are being felt from Romania and Bulgaria through Turkey and to Georgia. Already before Russia's brutal attack on February the 24th, we have seen numerous violations of international law by Russia, and we continue to do so. For example, the illegal occupation of Ukrainian gas platforms in the northwestern Black Sea, the illegal blocking of sea areas in the Black and Azov Sea, as well as harassment of foreign vessels exercising their right of innocent passage and of foreign aircraft and drones in international airspace. And in addition, Russia is the main reason why protracted conflicts in this region, especially on Moldovan and Georgian territories, continue to threaten the stability of the region. Russia uses disinformation to destabilize Moldova and refuses to withdraw its illegally stationed troops in the Transnistrian part of Moldova. Russia de facto controls breakaway regions of Abkhazia and South Ossetia in Georgia. For us, it is clear that the strategic role of the region for the European Union becomes increasingly important. All neighboring countries to the Black Sea, for sure except Russia, are either EU member states, EU candidate countries, or have an EU perspective. Therefore, it is important to join forces as Euro-Atlantic partners. So let me make 3 potential proposals for potential approaches we should now discuss, like strengthening the role of NATO in the region, but also how we can cooperate. First, it's about strengthening military protection of the coasts. Second, we need to increase the connectivity to the wider region. And last but not least, we need to join forces in the fight against disinformation in the region. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking forward to the discussions and to your questions and comments. I thank you.
Thank you for those excellent suggestions. And I think at this stage I'll turn to the floor, and we will open the floor for some comments, remarks, and questions. But I'll start with those who have identified their willingness to speak earlier, and I'll start with Ambassador Basat Öztürk, Director General at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Turkey. Can we use a mic? Please. Please.
Thank you very much for inviting me to express our views. And I also thank all the ministers and speakers for their comments. As I indicated in the morning session, because there are elections in Turkey in 1 month, both ministers could not come, but they have asked me to send their best regards to you through me. And in the context of Black Sea, I should like to underline the fact that what we are doing as Turkey, you have mentioned the Black Sea as the venue, the space connecting or disconnecting Southern Caucasus, Europe, But in reality, if you look at the map more carefully, you are going to find out the most important and strategic location is Turkey itself. Because it's not about only the sea, it's about the land. And the pipelines coming, we have seen on the map, from the Caspian Sea pass through Turkey, Trans-Anatolia Pipeline Project. And we have also, as you know, oil pipelines, gas pipelines, to increase the energy security of our Southeastern European partners and allies. We have just started also transmitting natural gas to Bulgaria as of yesterday, and annually we will be transmitting 1.5 billion cubic meters of natural gas to Bulgaria. We are doing the same for Romania, we are doing the same for Hungary, we are doing the same for Moldova. So it's about future, it's about the connectivity, but once we recognize the importance of Turkey as a strategic country, land mass with its shores, the longest coastline in the Black Sea, but also connecting Black Sea to the Eastern Mediterranean. So therefore, we have to really admit the fact that without involving Turkey in any project, you're talking about connectivity between East and West, it's impossible to achieve any meaningful, successful outcome. But we are ready to work with our allies and partners in this context. In particular, Ukraine is a very special friend and partner and country for Turkey because of our human bonds, because of our historic background. But also it's important, let's say, like countries like Germany, if they are really interested in making a contribution to the Black Sea, they should come closer to Turkey and also remove the sanctions, restrictions, and the mistreatment we have been subjected to for some time. Turkey has been mentioned in the strategic compass with Russia and China, as if we are a malign actor in the Western Balkans or somewhere, anywhere in our wider region. But we are not an outsider, we are not a malign factor, we are not a malign actor, but we are really supporting the membership of all those countries to the NATO and the European Union. We are not the ones blocking these memberships. We are ready to see them all, even before us, as members of NATO and the European Union. And in this context, I should like to conclude by saying that we understand the concerns and security challenges of all our allies and partners, but we expect them to also understand our concerns and security, vital, legitimate security interests. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, and I would now invite to the microphone Mr. David Muniz, U.S. Chargé d'Affaires here in Bucharest. Or we can proceed. Okay, then we can for now switch to the pre-recorded messages, and I would invite us to watch the message from Penny Wong, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Australia.
Foreign Ministers Kuleba and Ionescu, Defence Ministers Reznikov and Tilved, and distinguished colleagues. Australia supports the inaugural Black Sea Security Conference and the International Crimea Platform. While I can't be there in person, Australia stands with you. We stand with you because Russia's illegal and immoral invasion of Ukraine is a gross violation of international law. And as long as Russia flouts international law and persists in its war of aggression, we must impose costs on Russia and hold it to account. So I thank you for convening this conference. More than 12 months on from Russia's illegal full-scale invasion, it is an opportunity to assess what we have learned and take steps to strengthen security in the Black Sea and the region, to work towards a world that is peaceful, prosperous and respectful of sovereignty, to help ensure that others do not emulate Russia's actions. For in our tightly woven world, what happens in Europe reverberates globally, including in the Indo-Pacific. And what happens in the Indo-Pacific reverberates in Europe. So while Australia is far from the conflict and its tragic loss of life, the impacts of the war are being felt in our region. Russia's actions in the Black Sea are propelling the global crisis in food security. Australia welcomes the Black Sea Grain Initiative as critical for facilitating the flow of grain from Ukraine to the global market and helping address global food insecurity. But let me be clear, the initiative is only necessary because of Russia's own actions. Russia's attack on Ukraine is an attack on us all. Russia is asserting that larger, more powerful countries can determine the fate of smaller countries. This is why Russia's invasion cannot be normalised and it cannot be minimised. It is up to all of us to ensure this does not happen. Australia is a ready and able partner for all countries that seek a peaceful and prosperous world where sovereignty and territorial integrity are respected. I wish you all the best for the conference and look forward to its outcomes. Thank you.
I think we should thank Minister Wong for extending or expanding this conversation into the truly global context, and let's listen to Nikos Dendias, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Greece.
It is an honor to participate in the first Black Sea Security Conference of the International Crimea Platform. Allow me to congratulate Romania and Ukraine for this important initiative. More than a year after the invasion, the people of Ukraine continue their fight for the independence, sovereignty and territorial integrity of their country. Russia's unprovoked and unjustified war of aggression is a violation of the core principles of international law and the United Nations Charter, the very principles and values that unite us and keep us safe. Since the first day, we stood by Ukraine's side in full solidarity, providing all necessary assistance and support, stressing that revisionist ambitions should not be left unanswered. Russia's war of aggression has triggered significant shifts in the strategic landscape Black Sea Basin, a region the stability of which is a top priority for Greece. At the Madrid summit, NATO acknowledged for the first time the Black Sea region as an area of strategic importance for the alliance. In this regard, we ensure that the port of Alexandroupolis greatly facilitates the transit of equipment for the defense of Ukraine. Greece is also investing in the development of infrastructure that will further upgrade energy security in southern and eastern Europe. Emerging challenges, also related to technological progress, underscore the need to strengthen our resilience and to further interact with the European Union and NATO partners such as Ukraine, Moldova and Georgia in the Black Sea area. We must assist them in building their military capacity and defense capabilities and enhance their overall readiness and resilience. Thank you. Dear colleagues.
And now let's listen to Foreign Affairs Minister of Spain, José Manuel Álvarez.
Dear Dimitro, dear Bogdan, dear colleagues, thank you for the invitation to intervene in this panel of the first Black Sea Security Conference of the Crimea Platform. The unprovoked and unjustified military aggression of Russia against Ukraine is a threat to global security, but it is a particular challenge for the security system in the Black Sea and North Sea regions. The attack breaches constituency principles of international law, such as freedom of navigation, territorial integrity, sovereignty, equality between states, principles that constitute a precondition for international peace and security. Spain stands firm in our support to the security of Ukraine and its neighborhood. We will display that continental solidarity again during the upcoming Spanish presidency of the EU, hosting the third summit of the European Political Community. But Spain's efforts in the region go beyond symbols. Our troops' active participation in NATO's enhanced forward presence, in particular in the Black Sea Air Police, is the most concrete proof of our commitment, also shown by the training the Ukrainian armed forces are receiving in Spain to to bring peace back to Ukraine and to Europe. In this panel, you will address maritime security issues which remain of crucial importance for the EU as we are updating our maritime security strategy. We support protecting freedom and safety of navigation, giving that direct link to peace and security. The EU has demonstrated its capacities in this area through the Atalanta operation or through our coordinated maritime presences. Regrettably, we are also forced to pay special attention to the mining, as the number of mines in the Black Sea has greatly increased as a result of the Russian aggression. Special efforts must be made in this area. Finally, we know that in order to put pressure and exert control on certain governments, Russia has not hesitated to generate or exacerbate conflicts in its immediate neighborhood and beyond. To counter these threats, Spain supports NATO's emphasis on increasing our situational awareness in the region. We must be prepared to respond to any situation we may encounter. This requires training and technology, but also effective communication with our partners. We need to focus on a long-term approach that addresses the root causes of these regional tensions, and we need to do it by involving civil society. Though we are not an immediate neighbor in the Black Sea, we know that our security is interlinked with yours. You can count on Spain to work hand in hand with you to address the current threats and challenges in the region. Thank you very much.
Let's thank Minister Alvarez for his passionate words and suggestions. And I would like to invite Ms. Erika Schouten, Deputy Director General for Political Affairs from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands.
Ministers, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to say a few words. As my minister did not send in a video message, but asked me to come here today to Bucharest to, first of all, thank the organizers for this conference. Very important that we keep Crimea high on the agenda, and the Crimea platform is a perfect vehicle to do that. And also to keep bearing in mind the plight of the population, especially the Crimean Tatars. And then linking that in a very clever way, I have to say, to the Black Sea region. And as was said in the previous panel, there are a lot of lessons learned from the war so far, and we will keep on learning. But I think from the part of Europe where I come from, we were previously, I think, less aware of the strategic importance of the Black Sea region. And it's now very evident, as was said this morning, I think, by the State Secretary of Romania from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. What happens in this region doesn't stay in this region. It has an impact on Euro-Atlantic security and beyond. Our support for Ukraine is steadfast, and it translates in continuing our support to Ukraine, whatever it takes, as long as it takes, politically, military support, early recovery, also preparing for reconstruction, and also in the area of accountability. And when we speak of military support, equipment, training, but we also have to look ahead. This war will end one day, but then still Ukraine will need our support to keep on building the capacity of the Ukrainian forces, who do a terrific job. But still, the Russian threat will not end with this war, and therefore we have to keep supporting Ukraine as best as we can, also to make the Ukrainian forces as interoperable with the NATO ones as possible. Hence also the importance that we as the Netherlands attach to NATO's comprehensive assistance package for Ukraine, and the additional contribution that we announced last week at the NATO Foreign Ministers meeting of 75 million. It was also said that we need to implement the Madrid summit decisions and to strengthen NATO's eastern flank. And it's important that we do not only say that, but that we also put those words into deeds. Hence also the Dutch contribution to the multinational battle group in Romania, as well as the one in Lithuania, the Patriot unit that was deployed to Slovakia, recent contributions to air policing in Bulgaria and Poland. We have to show unity in words, but we also have to show unity in deeds. And then lastly, I wanted to say something about what happens in the Black Sea region doesn't stay in the Black Sea region. It has an impact beyond the Euro-Atlantic area. And as was alluded to by several other speakers, it has an impact on the global stage, especially when it comes to the hampering of the grain exports from Ukraine. And therefore the Black Sea Grain Initiative is incredibly important. It has just been renewed, but we know that it's not a given and that it requires hard work. And therefore, it's good that the Turkish representative is here also. I would like to acknowledge the efforts by Turkey and the UN for keeping the Black Sea Grain Initiative alive. We know why we need it, but we do need it. And one of the reasons is also that we are here together with a group of countries, all close friends of Ukraine, but you need all the friends that you can get in the world. And that support is not a given. 141 votes in the UN is a good result, but it's not enough. That support is not steadfast because a lot of these countries are suffering from the high energy prices and the high food prices. And therefore, this Black Sea Grain Initiative is very important, but it's also very important that we keep on explaining to those countries what has brought about this crisis that they are suffering from. And therefore, as the German representative said, I think countering disinformation is one of the most important tasks that we still have to keep working on. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very, very much. And now, Ambassador of France, Laurence Auer.
Mr. Minister, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for giving me the floor on behalf of the French delegation. We praise very much and support this initiative which was taken by the Romanian Ukrainian authorities to convene this first conference dedicated to Black Sea security in the framework of the Crimea International Platform. Last year it was the French presidents who delivered the message, and today I'm very proud to be able to deliver a small intervention on this question about action now. The Black Sea region, of course, suffers of this illegal annexion of Crimea in the subsequent Russian war aggression, and have profoundly destabilized the strategic environment in the Black Sea. It also changed the security situation, and today the Black Sea region which was affected by long-term and unresolved conflicts in several countries, Moldova, Georgia, where Russia has illegally maintained troops since the early 90s in defiance of international laws, has to see forward another new strategic environment. It is important for France, both nationally and multilaterally, in the EU and under NATO, that we continue to adapt our strategies and means to meet these new challenges. Four elements that are taken into consideration in this new strategic environment. First, I would stress, like all other participants, that more than ever, the principles of international law has to be reaffirmed in the new context. Maritime law, freedom of navigation, and the annexion of Crimea, invasion of Ukraine's coastlines, needs a legal answer. And more than ever, we have to reaffirm it. The respect of territorial integrity of Ukraine, the respect of all our principles, including human rights, and the crimes which has to be, of course, condemned. Second, threats to maritime security in the Black Sea has been exacerbated by Russian military aggression. We all know that it's the question of mines in the Black Sea, which was not only a threat to maritime transport, but also to the environment. And we think that infrastructure of energy projects are also at stake in this new context, such as the construction of offshore sites for renewable energy production, and France, as you know, is involved in several projects of that kind. Third, Black Sea region also has increasingly rose on the transit of the EU hydrocarbon supply. Everybody knows that, and it's a whole sector. How we deal with transit and oil and gas imports in this new context. Of course, I have to mention next items that of France concern is about the grain transit. As you know, we've been in the global food crisis very active to see that the role of maritime transport through the Black Sea should be protected, should be establishing secure corridors, including in Romania, to rising food prices. One objective of this platform is this, to include all the beneficiaries of these foods efforts to show that we should continue all together. In this context, what is the new strategic priorities for France? First of all, the first priority, as everybody knows here in this room, is support the sovereignty of the coastal allies and NATO partner. In Romania, everybody knows that we participate as a framework nation in the development of the new battalion and next brigade structure, which will be ready in 2025. That will be discussed, of course, in the Vilnius summit, and we are preparing as well a reinforcement of the here in the NATO headquarters, which is South and East NATO. Of course, we also participate to the exercise in the freedom of navigation in the area. I must mention the Sea Shield exercise this year, but also anti-submarine warfare in the Black Sea. We have this Operation Noble Shields with other allies, and we significantly contribute and reinforce all these exercise elements, which is crucial to show our poster, which is deterrent. As you know, we are not going to be co-belligerents, but it's very important that with our allies, meaning the Dutch, and I thank the Director General who just spoke before me, the Luxembourg allies, but as well the Belgium, with my Belgian colleague here, we are all part of this deterrence work. Second big objective is to continue the Black Sea Grain Initiative, not to let the pressure on Russia alleviated. We have to continue to help Romania, taking exportation of grain through the Romanian ports, but also through the road systems and Ukrainian ports. We are there, of course, to help, as you know, and we have to show the beneficiary states in promoting the Black Sea Grain Initiative in all multilateral forums. Next element, and almost last element I want to speak of, is the structuring project developed in the framework of the Eastern Partnership Economic and Investment Plan. As you know, connectivity is crucial in Black Sea. Several projects are being currently developed. A Black Sea submarine electricity cable valued more than 2 billion euro, which could be extended as far as Ukraine and Moldova. Discussion has been going on as well on the Black Sea submarine digital cable with fiber optics valued at 30 to 40 million euros, and also the development of ferry links between Georgia and Romania. The Economic Investment Plan is part of what we call the Global Gateway Strategy to strengthen connectivity between the Black Sea region and the EU. Two last remarks, if you accept, Mr. Minister. Sorry about being long. In accordance with the strategic compass of the European Union that was set up last year in March, on maritime security, we are working on a EU maritime security strategy and action plan. And you can rely on France so that we include the Black Sea in this new strategy. Everybody's watching us today on all those efforts in Brussels, and at least for France you can be sure that we will continue all efforts so that all those projects of economic partnership and investment are being taken, including, Mr. Minister, for the reconstruction of Ukraine. My last remark is about the Moldova summit that is going to be taking place on 1st of June in Chisinau. It's the second summit of the European political community, mentioned as well with another types of interventions today. It is very, very important in our view, because it is an opportunity for the heads of states and government meeting in Chisinau to discuss the challenges coming to the European continent, to give visibility to Moldova, to give visibility to what is at stake in terms of security, in energy, connectivity. And France would like to take this opportunity again to thank the Ukrainian government, the Moldovan government, the Romanian government for all the efforts which has been taken to full support the success on the next summit and for all the participants of this important initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. And I will invite Tadej Naret, who represents the International Parliamentary Assembly of NATO.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me, and thank you for letting me to speak before you. I am Tadej Naret. I am the CEO of Alter Ego, the US-based, women-owned cybersecurity and special military tech company. I also serve as chair of the board of Slovenian Ethical Hacker Foundations and also as an advisor to various defense committees and parliamentarians of NATO countries in terms of cybersecurity. First, let me say that I am proud to be engaged with remarkable women, Ukrainian ladies that have set up this groundbreaking company, and where we do our utmost and collaborate extensively with US agencies in terms of trying to help Ukraine and its war efforts in actually every manner and capacity at our disposal. I would also like to thank you for the interest and all the positive remarks received after yesterday's panel discussion. As you might have noticed, I was not scheduled to speak today, but it seems like the topics raised were recognized as relevant and important, so I'm thankful for the opportunity to reiterate the very pressing issues. Regarding developing situational awareness in the area, I would, as a touted so-called cybersecurity expert, like to point out that in the digital age, cyber is the most crucial vector in regard to developing both ISR, that is intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, and as a consequence, situational awareness, and we see that in our efforts daily. I must stress out that collaboration is crucial not only between nation states in the region and broader NATO alliance, but that we must learn to trust our own citizens too. As the example of Ukraine has shown, it is the unity of heart and minds that prevails in any situation, and as decision makers or as influencers, we should be aware of all the unused capital at our disposal. So firstly, we should increase our own awareness, realize that the war is not a closed circle effort, and allow all that want to help to do so. In terms of the cybersphere, the most crucial component where is without a doubt there is the most unused potential. Cyber attacks have become the precursor of kinetic attacks, telltale signs, so to speak, where increased cyber activity and especially the nature of the cyber activities themselves serve as a clear indicator of adversaries' intentions, and we must utilize all the capabilities at our disposal to increase the intelligence gathering in cyberspace, where I reiterate the first notion of unity of hearts and minds. There are thousands of reliable and ethical IT specialists, so-called ethical hackers, that would like and do help with securing our mutual digital landscape. War, in a sense, is a crowd-sourced effort, and cybersecurity should be no exemption to the fact. As a great example of such effort, I would like to congratulate Ukraine for developing truly amazing ISR platform, so-called Delta system.
And I would probably ask you to wrap it up and to allow us to move closer to the topic of this panel.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I'll now turn back to the panel. And I would like to get some more thoughts from you on what we can do collectively. And probably you have some ideas on what the international institutions could do in this situation to address the specific challenges. On one hand, we can see that it's very difficult to adjust to these very new circumstances. On other hand, I think I can use this. On the other hand, we can see how many international institutions, organizations, they really changed the procedures, really changed the decision-making process. We were quite impressed with the recent decision by the European Union to provide Ukraine with 1 million of artillery shells, which is very important for the situation on the ground. What can we do better collectively? Any thoughts in the panel? And then we'll switch to the floor. Who would like to start?
I think there's a lot to do, and it depends for sure on the perspective we might see. I would say from a NATO perspective, as I mentioned, we have to protect the coast, and we have to make very clear, especially to Russia, that there are no areas of higher or lower priority on the eastern flank of NATO, meaning that the north part of the eastern flank, the Baltic countries, are protected as the Black Sea region. I think we need to emphasize this. And as it was already said, we need to also draw the military conclusions and the military recommendations out of the new strategic concept of NATO. With regard to Ukraine, I think it's important to join forces and really to come to the deeds when we say we will support Ukraine as long as it takes, meaning that spare parts, ammunition, maintenance, those are the critical bottlenecks in the military support for Ukraine. And by joining forces, I mean it's necessary to increase our military capacities, especially with regard to ammunition. And when we build factories, for instance, producing ammunition, we need to make sure that on a European level we can all procure from those factories, that they could supply all the member states. Let me make one last comment. And on the short run, with regard to the Black Sea Grain Initiative, we need to sustain it. And I like to express my appreciation both to the United Nations as well as to the government of Turkey with regard to their efforts at least to prolong the Black Sea Grain Initiative for a few months. But we have to take into account Russia will try whenever they can to extend its war from a war by force to a war on food, and we have to be vigilant with that. Thank you.
More thoughts here on the panel? Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Sorry, Julian. Of course, I would start by saying that every international organization has its own perspective and specificity. From that point of view, I would like to point out that there is a perfect synergy between NATO and the European Union in this regard. First of all, now we witness that the strategic documents that have been recently adopted by both organizations, namely the strategic concept of NATO adopted in Madrid, and also the strategic compass of the European Union that has been finalized under the French presidency, are in perfect synergy. They are looking in one direction, and from that point of view, we have an action that also is appropriated, mutually complementing, and going in the very same, for fulfilling the very same goals. Anyhow, the two organizations also have some differences because of the specific, capacity of the organizations to act. We see that the European Union is engaged in sanctions, and we have very many packages already adopted. I would like to assure you that, well, this is a process that we will follow very closely. We will actively participate in this because this is a powerful tool for helping Ukraine. At the same time, believe me, this is not a very smooth process. This is a difficult one, and there is a difficult process of coordinating the sanctions, because what is acceptable for one country is not necessarily acceptable for someone else. So it is a complicated procedure, but we succeeded to have many sanction packages that are affecting in a very negative way the Russian economy, and this is what European Union is doing really very well. Also, the European Union is very active and very pushy for providing concrete help for Ukraine, and this is something that the Union is doing really very well. Considering NATO, of course, this is the ultimate guarantee for our security, and we can rely on unity there, on perfect synergy among all the countries, in order to be sure that the aggressor will be deterred, and also that the aggressor will never undertake any step towards further infraction of the international rules-based order that is affecting our countries. And finally, a couple of words about the United Nations. I think that the United Nations, this is the field where the battle is not yet won. This is very important to consider that many UN member countries are not seeing the situation the same way we see that. So this is a huge room for improvement, a huge room for our activity for the future, in order to persuade all of them that the aggressor is Russia, that Ukraine is defending itself, and the international rules-based order made in this very same green hall of the United Nations in New York that all of us we know, is now under threat and is disrupted and dismantled by a permanent member of the Security Council, that the war in Ukraine is not a European war, that is very far from the African countries and from countries from South Asia, or Southeast Asia, Latin America or so, that this is not a job that they are not interested in, because all of us we are suffering, and the very reason this is the Russian aggression and not the war in Ukraine. Put it in this very neutral way, which is really not true.
Secretary Fota. You know, I think that from time to time we have to accept the idea that maybe in the past OS collectively made some mistakes. Look at this paradox. Black Sea is the only region in the world where in the last 31 years we had 9 wars. There is no other region in the world where in the last 31 years to be exact, to have so many wars as in the Black Sea. From the artificial war of Russia against Republic of Moldova, the so-called Transnistrian war in 1992, up to the last Russian aggression on Ukraine, starting almost 1 year ago. Why do we, and only in the last few, in fact, only in the last 1 year, you know, taking consideration the NATO summit, you know, the last NATO summit, we in the West speak about the important strategies of the Black Sea, because otherwise individually, including countries like Romania, you know, try to attention on this region for many, many years. Why are we in such a paradoxical situation? Because sometimes I think that in the West we had too much politics and not enough strategy. I think that one thing which we have to take seriously in consideration is to give more time and more space in our debates to strategic considerations, because I don't think that it will be possible to move forward and to guarantee the interest, the collective interest of the West, our security, our sovereignty, our economic prosperity without thinking very seriously and very strictly also in a strategic way. And the first condition of any strategy adopted by the West is to help Ukraine with whatever we can to win this huge confrontation, of this huge this war with Russia. Otherwise, any discussion about Western or NATO or a strategy on the Black Sea will make no sense. The second, I think, or the second pillar of a possible future strategy should be addressing, correctly or exactly, the issue of Russia. For me, it's very difficult to understand how Russia, who is definitely the how to say, the source of all our problems, could be considered, or could continue to be considered as a part of the solution too, as it was the case in the past. And thirdly, I totally agree with our Turkish friends. There is no way to marginalize Turkey. There is no way to bypass or to ignore Turkey. Turkey is a country too large, too important, too strategically located, connected, to be ignored. And honestly, we may speak about, all sorts of attitudes on Turkey, but I don't think that I've seen anybody in the recent years, try to do that, because it will be very, very foolish. We all understand and we all recognize the importance of Turkey, not in the Black Sea, but from a much larger perspective than Black Sea. And the best way to move forward, is to work collectively and to act collectively. And I hope the NATO will do that a little bit faster, because soon we will have 1 year since the NATO Madrid summit, and we are still, far from understanding, and now I have a personal point of view, to see how the very important statement from the NATO strategic concept of considering Black Sea a sea of strategic importance will be put in practice, because words, from our strategic documents are less relevant if they will not be followed by very practical approach. And definitely we need for the Black Sea a very practical approach. The last NATO ship visiting Black Sea, it was in November 2021, I think more than 1.5 years ago. If I remember well, it was an American, destroyer. Since that moment, no other NATO ships, of course I'm not including here, ships from Romania, Bulgaria, or NATO, who are NATO Republican countries, who are Black Sea Republican countries, but no other NATO country ship, came to visit Black Sea. And I think that is not in our strategic advantage. Thank you.
Secretary of NDU.
Yeah, thank you very much. Of course, we as an organization cannot be compared with big entities like NATO in Europe, but we as a interstate regional framework as a full-fledged organization with all the dimension, political, parliamentary, business and economic, with instruments and mechanism of cooperation are in place, ready to play a positive, constructive role in the region to promote peace, stability, cooperation in that sense. And unfortunately, as I mentioned, all our member states suffer from regional conflicts, from influences, so we are, as a country, club, a bit vulnerable, and we don't have sufficient capacities and competencies to address many challenges. What we do is mainly respond to most crying necessity is the transport and transit, which is we are facing really enormous challenges in that respect, since northern routes are being blocked. So we decided why not to address. So the concept as it is was adopted in 2013. It's only after aggression in 2014 of Russia against Ukraine, and eastern border been blocked, and Ukraine was cut from access to traditional markets, export markets in Central Asia and far beyond. Then we start this dialogue. We developed a concept, terms of reference, and now we want to make this as a competitive, stable, secure corridor in compliance with the best with European standards as a part of expanded network that is being developed by European Union in Eastern neighborhood. So we are offering our cooperation, and we're ready to do, and we have two flagship initiatives. Apart from transport corridor, we're also promoting this area as a zone for free trade. We have free trade agreement ratified and in force, so ready for investment, for cooperation and implementation of this project. And if I may, I would also refer to the remarks of a distinguished ambassador from Turkey. I understand that probably my intervention somehow prompted with the response. So this is Black Sea, Guam Transport Corridor is in no way it can be seen and viewed as some alternative or initiative to bypass Turkey. It's absolutely impossible. So Turkey is a key, vital partner in the region for decades. And if I can refer to even to the initiative of late President Turgut Özal when he proposed to establish Black Sea Economic Cooperation Organization with headquarters in Ukraine. That was an initiative to promote peace, stability, and cooperation in the unfortunately, due to conflicting interests of the member states, countries did not appreciate that one. So in case of Guam, we don't have such conflicting interests. So we are strategic partners. We geographically located in the sense as a chain connecting Europe, and our focus is the Black Sea. So of course, main cargo, main freight goes through Turkey, through land for now. But as I'm from Azerbaijan, and in early years of oil field developments, when big international oil companies been pondering, so after starting exploration, what to do with the oil, where do we have pipelines? So, and they were saying that happiness is in the multiple pipelines. In case of connectivity is also the more connectivity opportunity, alternative routes we have in the region, the better. Turkey will be the main without any, of course, doubt, but we also, since we're referring to the security navigation and maritime in the Black Sea and in the Caspian Sea, I would also like to mention. So we try to promote, and we now offer to the European Union as a partner, as an interested partner in promoting this initiative, and we'll see how it develops. And our purpose is to make it as a unified, harmonized area, as a single transit corridor with less bureaucracy, border crossing procedures. It's a comprehensive initiative that would require expertise, know-how, and of course financial assistance as well.
Thank you for that clarification. I'm sure it will be appreciated in some portions of the room, that's for sure. Let's switch to remarks and questions from the floor. Those of you who are interested, please identify yourself with your hand, just like Hannah Shellist is doing over there, and find the microphone somewhere around you. Is the mic on?
Yeah? Oh. Put it over there. Dr. Shelest, Ukrainian Prism. As we talked about the immediate needs and as the name of this session, I would like to refer to the problems of the sea mines that we have all around and that target not only Ukraine. I'm from Odessa.